Welcome to Queer Conversations by Lesbians on the Loose. Today I'll be interviewing Katie, a 50-year-old from Colorado who works at Lesbians Incorporated, an organisation which gives grants to initiatives within the LGBT+ community in Australia. Katie, welcome to Queer Conversations.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure talking to you today. I'd like to start a little bit about your upbringing. So you were brought up in Colorado. Can you tell me a little bit about growing up there?
It was a great place to grow up. It's in the United States along the Rocky Mountains, so a lot of outdoor activity. But I've always kind of thought I had a bit of a sheltered growing up, a bit privileged, but also not really out there in the world. So it took a while to realize my sexual orientation and everything, because everything was so heteronormative, as would be described now. But it was a great place to grow up.
Yeah. So when you did start to realize that you weren't heteronormative, was that a shock to you and your community? And how old were you when you kind of became comfortable with that?
It took a lot to get familiar with and comfortable, just even terminology, like what does it mean to be attracted to another woman? It was shortly after the AIDS crisis in America, so there was a lot of gay panic, and people would talk about homosexuals and gays in hushed tones, like it wasn't really polite conversation. So it was probably university when I finally allowed myself to realize that there was this other life or this other being that I could identify with. And of course, LGBT groups on campus and stuff was a big help for that, because I found like-minded people. And so I was later in life coming out more about 25. But when I did, I finally got what all the fuss was about, with my girlfriend saying, "Oh, I kissed this boy. It was great." I was like, "Wait, I kissed a girl and it was fantastic." So finally understood all the fuss. But yeah.
And were you active in the community?
For a lot of the protests, there was I think it was Proposition 8 in Colorado. They were trying to ban the homosexual community from having equal rights, and so we would be a lot of protests there. And it did get violent at times, and especially after Matthew Shepard's death, which was in Wyoming, the next state over. Becoming active politically and as a lesbian came a lot more important to me. I wanted to identify with the community and have the community and give it a voice to be stronger.
So who is Matthew Shepard?
Matthew Shepard is an individual who's a student at University of Wyoming. Sorry, I don't remember the dates, but it was right around early 90s, where he was taken to a field because he was a homosexual by two men in a bar, and lured him under false pretenses there, and then he was beaten and tied to a post to die like a scarecrow in his town. It was absolutely horrible, and justice wasn't served in that case at all. But it did sadly bring some highlight about the divisions in the country and what should be done and need to be done, and still needs to be done. But it was really a touching point for me, because not only did my sister also attend the University of Wyoming, but it was the next big state or school over, so it was very close.
Part of the
He lived
community.
in Denver during the summers away from school and stuff, so I knew people who knew him, and it was very hard to accept that another person be treated that way.
Did you yourself face discrimination when you came out as a lesbian?
Not from my family. I need to say, first of all, that my family was very supportive and everything like that. And they just kind of like, "Oh, okay, that makes so much sense now."
So I'm interested in your experience, because you're truly an international person. You've lived in Colorado, you mentioned you've lived in Denmark, and you've moved to Australia, was it 9 years ago?
9 years ago we finally found Australia, and a really fabulous place to live Sydney is. So,
it is.
Yeah.
So tell me about your experience moving to Australia as a lesbian woman and joining this LGBT community.
Yeah, it was a great way to really assimilate with Sydney, because there is such a strong community here, and so many different groups that you can become a part of to meet your friendships and your kind of family here, because we have moved so much. Been out of the States for 18 years now. Like you said, it was the UK, then Denmark, and now finally here, Australia. So to find the connections and places to work, it really helped that Sydney has a vital and strong LGBT community.
And so talking about your place of work, you found yourself at an organization called Lesbians Incorporated.
Lesbians Incorporated.
Tell me about Lesbians Incorporated.
I always feel like I should have a tie on when I say that. But it is a community group that's been going on in Australia for over 20 years now. And we give out community grants to lesbians and the LGBTQI plus community to foster community spaces for lesbians. And it could be something like a play. Maybe someone is having a play that they want to put on that talks about their lesbian experience, or a podcast that talks about growing up queer, and also later in life maybe coming out. From Victoria, we just had a grant with Joy FM get approved where they did 4 podcasts on later in life lesbian experiences. So that was really good because it gives people that connection to say, hey, I'm not alone, especially during COVID times. We've been giving out grants for 20 years, and it's a wide, huge range of different people who've received the grants. And we always do say we are inclusive of the whole rainbow, because while we want lesbians to have a voice and a space in the community, we realize it is a whole community of shoulders we stand upon, so we can have one.
Yeah. So I'm interested in your personal life and in your role at Lesbians Incorporated. Do you have many connections with people within the community who are either elders or who are younger than you?
Yeah, a little bit of both, actually, which is really, really nice. The committee that we have now currently the majority of them would be older than myself, and they have been in Sydney their whole lives, and that's why they thought it was really important to start this group, to give lesbians some extra money to foster community spaces. But that's not just in Sydney, it's all nationwide, and really wanting to reach out to rural areas who might not have that connection like people in Sydney do, and foster that. But for me personally, it's just been really nice to get to know people from all generations and walks of life. People are so creative on how they want to connect with their people, and it's really special to see what they can come up with why they would want some grant money from Lesbians Incorporated. But for me personally, it's been, I can find like a badminton club that I just recently joined that has some wonderful people who I don't play a lot of sports, but I'm now playing badminton. And it's with a group of ladies who are loving and caring and just want to have a fun Thursday night,
So you're also a parent.
I am.
Can you tell me a little bit about your experience of being a parent with your wife? You mentioned before that you identify as an older parent.
I do. So we have a 4-year-old daughter, and so it's only the last 4.5 years of my life that has been completely consumed by parenting, and quite a change from where I was my first 4 years in Sydney. But it's been beautiful, and it's been great. And again, having things like Rainbow Families. They have a play group on Thursdays where you can go and meet other parents, usually with all the young newborns and toddlers. And the kids get to play with each other, and you get to make some connections with other parents. And then they'll have their socials and stuff at the parks for picnics, which is, again, a nice way to meet people. And we find out that, my neighbor is also part of Rainbow Families, and their daughters are playing with our daughter, and things like that. So it's been another great way that Sydney has so many connections to just personally identify and build your family with, and have the resources. Because personally, I think Rainbow Families is doing a great job with their play group and stuff, so the kids can know each other, and then you also have the networking of the parents, because a lot of us might be going, what are we doing? I think every parent has that. But
so I'm thinking about the younger generation from all this talk about your child. Do you think that the younger generation of LGBT people have things to teach older people?
Absolutely. As much as I think that they can learn from the people that came before them and respect the history and respect who got us to the point we are today, I think I've probably learned more in Sydney and in Australia from the younger generation. They're just so open and accepting, and I feel they do have to teach people a lot, which I could see getting very draining from their point of view. But it does help to always have a discussion, and what I'm so proud of the younger generation is that they've rejected all of these social norms and said, they didn't really work that well for you, they're not going to work that great for me, and I don't have to put myself in a little box and say I'm this or that. I'm just here, and I love everyone, or I love only one, or this or that, whatever it is, they can freely say it and stand up and be accepted for it. And even though there's still a lot of work to be done on like transphobia and things like that, they're working every day at it. And I think it's just really inspiring, and it can teach us all that the job's not over yet. We still have to keep going for equality, and we can all work together. There's something from the older generations can teach us, and there's something we can pick up from the younger generations as well.
Definitely. I guess personally, from your experience, is there something that you might have believed or not fully understood, but being in contact with younger people, you've been sort of challenged when it comes to something?
I think a lot. They can definitely challenge, and it's nice that they can challenge and you can learn from it. But personally for me, and I am ashamed to admit this, but for bisexuality, and it's mostly because when I was coming out, a lot of the girlfriends I had would identify as bi, and it's more that the relationship they had with me was more testing or maybe a play, or, you know, like they weren't really in it for the long haul where I might have been. So it led to a lot of heartbreak. So I was like, you need to just pick. I was one of those who said it. I apologize. But I don't believe that's true now. I think individuals can love whoever they love. It just wasn't right for us to be in love at that time. But growing up, I did have a big chip on my shoulder about that. But
it's
with
great
time,
that
you
you've
learn.
changed.
Yeah. Time you learn it's all right. You can just be in love with who you love.
So thinking about LGBT history, from your perspective, is there a defining moment or period of time that's really important or seminal for you?
I have two at least, because being from America and living here. So in America it would be the AIDS crisis and how that was handled and everything, and all of the negativity and the stereotypes and the like gay panic that it did create. It's very hard, and it has embedded in a lot of people's minds that homosexuals are dirty or evil or diseased, which is wrong, obviously. But it is a whole generation that grew up learning that. And I think it's slowly unweaving, and it's taking a lot of time to change all that mindset that was done in a 10-year period and stuff like that. And then here in Australia, it's definitely Mardi Gras and the 76ers. I love learning all the history of that and everything that they've done. And some of the documentaries that come out lately about the couple that was the first lesbians on television to admit it, it gives you hope, and it gives you some inspiration that we are making a difference, and we are becoming a community that brings people together.
It's amazing to see that progress over time, and it's
not
it's
a
really
very
long
not that
time.
Exactly,
Yeah.
It's not that long time at all, and it's like, so it might feel tough today, but look what we're doing. We're really doing something special, and it's really helping a lot of people to say that it's okay to be gay, it's okay to be lesbian, it's okay to be queer, whatever you believe you are, it's okay, and we're going to find a way to keep being together. So
in terms of that sense of community, LOTL has been part of the Sydney and Australian community for a while. So what's your personal connection to LOTL?
Well, LOTL was probably my first introduction to Sydney. First few weeks after moving here, going through Newtown and finding an actual print magazine, going, what is this? Oh, On the Loose. Yes, absolutely. I'm going to be a lesbian on the loose in Sydney. So I picked that up, and then it just kind of generated from there, always following them once they got online, and their movie reviews, what to be watching at the film festival and things like that. So I think LOTL has a very important place in the community, and it has had it for quite a while. And, you know, you mentioned to people that, I'm going to go do this podcast. They're like, you're doing that with LOTL? That's amazing. You know, where have they been? What is going on? And so I just find it an inspiring magazine and digital forum to really help connect. Yeah, because I don't think I would have made some of my first early Australian LGBT friendships without that magazine and knowing where to go or what's going on. So,
well, Katie, thank you so much for talking to us today.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for hanging out with us. If you like our content, follow us and check out our website, LOTL.com, to learn more.